It's another episode of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani. Guess what? Well, you already know this. It's Friday during Lent.
Better not eat meat.
I can smell the fish cooking right now. Time to make a trip to McDonald's to get a fillet of fish. It's on special today.
Oh, my
Don't
goodness.
you love how all the restaurants break out the fish specials during Lent?
I love that when you show up. What do you have today? Oh, well, we have halibut and we have... and they start going down the list. That is hilarious.
Or, you might as well have, Catholic written across your forehead when you walk in. All of your friends, I'll have a Big Mac, I'll have a Quarter Pounder, I'll have a fillet of fish.
But
it's a good witness.
It is. It truly, that's a good point, Jerry. I never even thought it is a good witness. But so many kids, and you can relate to this as parents, dear listeners, so many kids go, fish again, Mom, fish again. It just seems like, that is sometimes the sentiment that prevails. And so that's what we want to talk about today here on Take Two. It may seem like a lighthearted topic, but it's not. It truly isn't. Wait till you see how we hopefully transition this show to really get to a spiritual core truth. And we need your help. Because the way we don't do this alone. See, Jerry and I could do this together. We could just talk and talk and talk and, kind of develop the conversation. But it's really not going to have the different facets of beauty that comes together when we all do it as a family. And so we're going to ask you right now to call in and weigh in on this idea of not eating meat on Fridays. Is it too much emphasis on fish? Are we losing the purpose of it? Is it a discipline that is something you've adopted all year round in your household, and it's really played a significant part in your spiritual growth? Anything you want to talk about when it comes to not eating meat on Fridays, the emphasis on fish, anything you want to talk about, we want to hear from you. So here's the number: 1-800-585-9396. You'll talk to Matt Gabinski. He's awesome. He's so amazing. And then when Matt just visits with you for a little bit, he's going to place you on hold, and you'll get to listen to the show live. So you're not going to miss anything. So many times callers say, I'm apprehensive. I'm hesitant to call because I don't want to miss anything. Or what if somebody says something that I'm about to say? Well, you're not going to miss anything. We're a family here. We're going to keep you in the loop. 1-800-585-9396.
Well, we got a statement on our Facebook page. That's EWTN Catholic Radio. Paul says something that I find is interesting, Debbie. He says, if you love seafood, I would think you should give that up on Fridays too. Otherwise, it defeats the idea of penance. And Paul, I was going to get into that because I'm not a big meat eater. I'll have a steak maybe once a year. Twice a year, maybe.
I don't think I've ever seen you eat steak.
Yeah, see, and it's because one thing is I don't, I just don't. I'm not drawn to ordering steak or beef or stuff. I'm not opposed to it, but it's sometimes really hard to get a well cooked steak that isn't just full of gristle and fat and stuff. But that's for another time.
That's TMI.
Yeah, TMI. Wait, TMI. Way too much information. Something like that. But Paul makes a good point. I actually love seafood. And I'm just gonna give something away here that I don't know if I should say or not. Parishes have, fish fries. And if your parish has one and you're a part of it and you see it's popular among parishioners, call in and share about that as well at 1-800-585-9396. My parish, God love them. I love my parish, my pastor. But we have Lenten dinners every Friday, and 700 people show up. But that's because the menu is like fish and chips and orange roughy and mahi-mahi and shrimp scampi and stuff like this. So again,
you have a gourmet fish fry.
I know. Well, you know who does it? There's the lady who caters the lunch for the schools does that as well. And I think that, that's one of the things that gets people, draws them to come out.
Well,
But
yeah, I would drive out to go
yeah, it's
attend.
$5.99 and $20 for a family.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! To have shrimp scampi?
Yeah.
Okay, that is amazing. Now that is a new twist to Friday Lenten fish fries. Wow, that takes. I've never heard that before ever. That's awesome.
But if you followed the guidelines and you've had two very partial meals, or even maybe you fasted all day just
Right.
on a piece of bread or some crackers or something, there's certainly nothing at all wrong with having a meal like that. But we want to talk with you, dear listeners, about is it easy for you to fast? Is it something you think about throughout the day? That stomach's rumbling and you're just going, oh man, my next small snack or my full meal of the day can't get here soon enough.
Right.
Or what about abstaining from meat? And Debbie, we can talk a little bit about, the age limits and the requirements and all of that. That's
The
not really,
obligations,
we'll talk about that, but we're really looking for personal experience more than anything.
We really are, because now in the Lenten journey, we are called to prepare and to move our hearts and souls forward towards God. Okay, so we're called to grow. We're called to learn. So that's what we thought we would have this angle of Take Two, where we take a fresh look, we take a new look at something, and we want to take a new look at this. Phone lines are just full. That's awesome. So you can go ahead and keep calling, and if you don't get in, maybe when a phone line frees up, you'll be the next one on. We're going to try to take as many calls as possible today to really get a good, deep understanding of, fish again. We're talking about it's fish again on Fridays. Come on. Can we do something else? Is there another practice? Is that outdated? Whatever we want to talk about. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, okay, this is very important. When we come back, we're going to go right into it, right into the discussion, and see where this takes us. So this is exciting. And John in New Mexico, you hold on, because you're going to be first up on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're going to take that break. When we come back, we're talking about Fish Fridays. It's fish again. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Doug Keck, host of EWTN's Bookmark. I wanted to mention a new book that I wanted you to check out in time for the Jubilee of Mercy. It's A Holy Year in Rome, the complete pilgrim's guide for the Jubilee of Mercy by our one and only Rome correspondent, Joan Lewis of Joan's Rome. And in this book, Joan takes you back in time for a look at the history of Jubilees and then brings you up to the present with a visit to the 7 pilgrim basilicas of Rome, 4 of which must be visited by pilgrims to obtain a Holy Year indulgence. You'll discover the treasures of Rome and the Vatican, and you'll learn all about the many interesting facts, such as the difference between a church, a basilica, the significance of the holy doors, architecture, liturgical customs, and much, much more, as only Joan can bring them to life. Available through the EWTN Religious Catalog, EWTNRC.com. It's A Holy Year in Rome, the complete pilgrim's guide for the Jubilee of Mercy by the one and only Joan Lewis. Check it out.
Hey guys, where were you when you had your deepest conversations about God and faith and life? Well, if you're like me, you were probably sitting up till all hours drinking coffee in an all-night diner with your best friends. Hi, I'm Deacon Jeff Drzymski, inviting you to relive that experience right here in the luxurious corner booth of the Catholic Cafe.
The Catholic Cafe debuts this Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday, 5 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Live truth, live Catholic.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to go right to your calls in a minute, but just real quickly, just so that just to cover this, because it's got to be part of a discussion like this, the church's guidelines on fast and abstinence, Debbie, we ought to get into this. As far as abstinence from meat, the church really just says on Ash Wednesday and then the Fridays of Lent,
mm-hmm.
Of course, including Good Friday as well. But the fasting part is, the same, but there are age requirements for that we want to mention. Yeah.
Right. And the easiest way, if you want to know, you can go to usccb.org. That's a really a great way on the page on fasting and the obligations, usccb.org. And the fasting obligation is 18 to 59, and that's one full meal and then two smaller meals that, don't make up, the two smaller meals doesn't equal bigger than the one meal that you're having. And for not eating meat on the Fridays of Lent, including Ash Wednesday, it's for 14 years and up. But I will tell you, though, that there is a lot of encouragement to adopt Fridays all year round in preparation for Easter all year round, and to adopt Fridays from abstaining from meat on Fridays all year. And I know a lot of priests in my diocese do that. They don't eat meat on Fridays for the entire year. So, don't eat meat on Fridays. I have to think about that for a minute because, you're right. Fish is really a popular entree right now, especially with all the health guidelines that have come out and everything. And people are really interested in staying healthy. So fish is a popular item with the omega-3s and everything. So it's not the same way it was long ago, where meat was this
luxury.
Luxury.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So it's very interesting how we're going to talk about this. Okay. Could John and
let's do it. Yeah.
John, listening to EWTN Radio in Las Cruces, New Mexico on Sirius XM 130. John, you are first, kicking us off on this Fish Friday. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello, John. John, are you there? John, we'll put you on hold there and get back to you in just a minute. We will try Michael in upstate New York, listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Michael, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. What's your take on this?
Well, as far as the fish goes, I kind of look forward to it because during Lent, and actually Advent as well, I usually try to abstain from meat, regardless of whatever day of the week. And as Debbie was just saying about abstaining from meat on Friday, about the only 2 days I've had meat on Friday, the past couple was on Christmas and New Year's. Christmas I can understand because that's one of the big days, and you really don't want to abstain on Friday. You just have to find another day,
sure,
just in case. But the other thing, too, maybe just to kind of tie into it, in a couple of weeks we got St. Patrick's Day coming up, and what we've got going on there is you see a lot of people going out, basically drinking when they really aren't supposed to, and then having corned beef and cabbage. But here's the thing. That's basically more of an Irish-American tradition. But what I found out, and this is kind of like a little geoliturgical synopsis that I come up with, is that that island's surrounded by water on all four sides, and the biggest produce is fish. So why not have fish on St. Patrick's Day?
There you go. Corned beef or corned fish and cabbage.
No, fish and chips.
Right.
That's right.
Which I kind of heard you say a little bit earlier. And next year, 2017, St. Patrick's Day is actually going to be on a Friday. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So you're going to probably hear a lot of people say, "Well, why can't we have corned beef and cabbage on Friday?" Well, what you just said makes perfect sense. Some bishops might grant relief. Some bishops might. So they're going to have to follow whatever the bishop tells them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in fact, Michael, I was going to make that point. It still is a virtuous thing, even if a bishop, say, in a diocese where St. Patrick is the patron, or there's a very heavy Irish population, or this happens on the Feast of St. Joseph, too. And that's a solemnity. So if the Feast of St. Joseph falls on a Friday during Lent, I'm not even sure that the bishops have to grant dispensation on that day. Perhaps they do. I'd have to check into that. But this is a good point that he's making, Debbie, that the church gives us these practices, these penances and so forth, but she's not so rigid as to say, hey, this is a special day.
Right.
Let's set that aside for today and celebrate a great saint such as St. Joseph or St. Patrick.
Right. Well, and the other thing too, Michael, is that and Jerry, is that you can replace other forms that also challenge yourself in that penitential way. And so that's important to remember as well. Sometimes people feel like if they get a get out of jail free card, that pass that they get, that, hey, they're free for the day. But as Catholic Christians, we're called to constantly challenge ourselves and to, the idea is to grow closer to God. That's what we're all here to do, and then to bring as many other souls with us as possible. So I just want to throw this back to both of you guys, Michael and Jerry, is that when we get when something is lifted from us, like let's say we're past 59 years old and we don't have to do certain things, are we replacing it with other forms that challenge us to grow closer to God? And it sounds like, Michael, did you tell us that you don't eat, or you eat fish all year round? Was that what you were saying?
Oh, yeah. And as a matter of fact, there are some places where I would even if it was a day where I could actually eat meat, sometimes I'll eat fish, because I can eat that because some of the meat products I don't even like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like
right.
McDonald's, I would rather have the fish than some of the Big Macs, believe it or not.
Well, yeah, it looks a little bit more like real food. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. And Jerry, I know you wanted to comment on that, about this whole idea of penance year-round and stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic thing. In fact, a lot of people will agree with this, that we have gotten away from a sense of penance as a way of life. Mm-hmm. Friday, there was a time when the church, had the no meat on Fridays year round.
Right. And
even though the church doesn't officially say that, the church still does officially say we're to do some form of penance.
That's right.
On Fridays. And like I've said before, for me, giving up meat is not a big deal. So on Fridays, I get up on Fridays and I am conscious. I'm going to say, Lord, show me. I ask the Lord to show me, what specific sacrifice would you have me make today? And invariably, Debbie, he brings someone across my path who needs assistance, or there's a favor that I can do, or something, go a little bit above and beyond what I would normally do. So I'm always trying to look for little things like that.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. That helps us. Yeah.
All right, Michael, thank you very much for kicking off our phone call segment here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're going to go back to John in Las Cruces, New Mexico, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. John, do we have you this time?
Yes.
Okay, John, thanks. Sorry about that first time there. How you doing?
Good. How's your day?
Good. My day is going better now that you called, young man.
Yeah, but wait a minute, John. Can I ask how old you are?
13.
Wow. You are just an amazing man. We're so glad you joined us. Okay, John, go ahead. Take it away.
Okay. Well, my opinion on this is that I like the idea of having fish on Friday because Jesus had sacrificed himself. He didn't eat for 40 days. He was just praying for us, and he sacrificed himself, and it's good for us, and how they tell us at the beginning of Lent to give up something because, he gave up something. Well, he gave up a lot of things, and I find it good that we should at least, give up something at least 1 week of the day for 5 weeks. And, it's good that my opinion on, having fish on Fridays is good. And I do like the idea that being 14 and older, you shouldn't be allowed to eat meat on Fridays. But then again, people do have their other opinions. And me personally, I like to eat meat, and we kind of have a tradition. Me being 13, it's going to have to end next year, is usually on Fridays in the mornings. We'll go to McDonald's and we'll pick up something for breakfast. And, they don't have, I don't know if they serve anything with fish in it for breakfast over there. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, and John, can I ask you a couple questions? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, John, are you homeschooled, or do you go to Catholic school, or do you go to public school?
I go to Catholic school.
You do? I bet you're really super smart. Do you want to say the name of your Catholic school?
Holy Cross Catholic School.
Holy Cross Catholic School. Very cool. So now you can tell them all that you were on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie all over the world, and so you got a nice... shout out for your school, Holy Cross. How awesome is that?
It's cool.
So, John, let me ask you this question. Do you think that we should, as adults, teach more and more people that when we remember Jesus' ultimate sacrifice for us and we try to do something sacrificial ourselves, we try to, do something that can make us remember that great sacrifice that Jesus did for us, do you think that would help souls get closer to heaven?
Yes, but, I mean, every little bit does help when you're trying to get to that path. It's another stepping stone that you add, and it helps you to get closer, but it is good that you should also tell other people, like, hey, why are you eating fish on Friday? And, you don't have to because God did give you free will, and, it's not it is your decision, and He does want you to have fish, and the church wants you to have fish, and you should have fish, but, to tell people that, hey, well, I'm doing this because a long time ago, a man had sacrificed himself for our sins, and you should be thankful, and you should at least show regards in a certain kind of way,
Right. John, you are an amazing man, John. I have to ask you this because it's coming upon me very strongly. Have you ever thought about being a priest?
Yes. I'm actually an altar server at my church, and I've gotten comments saying, hey, you should at least continue something with the church. And this was quite a long time ago, and maybe like 2 years, not too long. But I did think about becoming a priest, but that was one of my, I really wanted to do that. And then as I got older, I thought there were other things that came to interest.
Sure, absolutely. Well, you're an amazing man, John, amazing young man, and this is inspiring us, Jerry. See, John going to Catholic school has a really strong, very deep grasp of how important it is to be aware of God's love for us and His sacrifice for us, and then what we can do. And and I loved how John said, we should tell other people. See, John's an evangelizer. He knows. Well, and his name. Well, look at that. Anyway, John is so awesome about that, is spreading the gospel message. That's huge. And if more and more, teenagers, preteens and teenagers can be like John, we would make a much better world.
Oh, John, we're going to let you go in a minute because we have other calls. I just have one quick follow-up question for you. You mentioned, you're 13 now. When you turn 14, it's going to have to be meatless Friday. You said you like meat a lot. So does that, how you doing with that idea about having to maybe give up meat on Fridays once you turn 14 during Lent?
I'm okay with it, but I would, if my parents would allow me to, because they really want me to start getting into the tradition of not having meat on Fridays, I will do it. But if they give me my free will, I kind of would not want to have meat. But then again, I feel kind of guilty because I do have that free will to do what I can do, and free will that God gave us. He gave us the free will to make good choices and not bad choices.
Wow. John, you're a very articulate young man, as Debbie said. A final thought, Deb, before we got a break coming up.
We're going to let you go, John. But before we do, we just want to ask you just a couple favors, because we really believe in the power of prayer, and we know that the youth, that your prayers go straight up to heaven. They go up there lightning fast. So would you pray? Would you pray for Take Two listeners all around the world? Would you do that, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. And then last thing, go and hug your mom and dad and your entire family, because you have a blessed family, John, and you are definitely the fruits of that family. So thank you for calling. Keep checking in with us. We want to watch you grow up, from 13 to 14 to 15. So check in with us from time and, every chance you get, actually. Check in with us. Will you do that? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. We appreciate that. What a great take. That may be our short take for the day.
Yeah, John should check back to see if it's a short take.
Yeah, we always pick one of the calls, one of the takes from the program, and put that on the take2show.com website. So be watching for that. All right, Mark and Tiffany and Lisa and Christina, you're going to be right after this short break, because here in just about 5 seconds, we're going to be hearing that lovely music. That means it's our hard break, but we got time to get to every one of you. Fish again, that's what we're talking about today. Do you find it easy to go without meat? Does fasting, does it give you problems? Maybe a lot of people have health issues that really kind of abrogate the church's guidelines for them, perhaps. Maybe you're one of them. But let's talk about the meaning and what you get out of fasting and abstaining on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
EWTN is now on Twitter. Get short, timely messages from EWTN on your computer or cell phone. It's easy to stay up to date on a wide variety of topics. Pro-life news, Vatican announcements, catechesis, apologetics, the latest EWTN programming, and more. You can link to EWTN on Twitter from our homepage or go to twitter.com/EWTN. At work, at home, at school, and on the road. Stay connected to your world with EWTN's Twitter page.
From the archives, this is the wisdom of Mother Angelica.
We need to pray for the gift of knowledge, not just knowledge of our faults, but knowledge of God. Do you know God? Or is he just somebody that you go to when you're in trouble? This gift of knowledge is a certain amount of detachment. We're attached to everything, little things, silly things. Chairs. Don't sit in my chair. Why? Because it just fits me. It doesn't fit you. You're too fat. Well, if you ever said that to somebody, you're attached to what? A chair. You can be attached to God, and you can love everybody. You can love your children and love your parents and love even your enemies. But attachments take the soul out of your heart.
For more about Mother Angelica, visit EWTNRC.com.
It's new. It's Catholic. It's live from our studios at Christ Cathedral. Call Me Catholic with Peggy Normandin. A full hour of talk, interviews, and commentary on faith. Celebrating, exploring, and restoring our Catholic identity in a modern world. Call Me Catholic every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
We're so glad you are with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're talking about it's fish again on Lenten Fridays. That's what we're talking about today, and we're having a very just wonderful discussion. We're so blessed. We are so blessed. We heard from Michael and we've heard from John. And, Jerry and I believe John has called before because we recognize that beautiful, beautiful voice of his. And, gosh, we are so lucky. We're so lucky. Our listeners on Take Two have an interest in wanting to get closer to God. It's a great conversational show where we're able to do that in a very safe and fun way. And that's what we should be. Joyous Catholics, and joy of the gospel, like Pope Francis talked about. We should be filled with that joy. So we're going to move right along to Lisa in Portland, Oregon, listening on EWTN Radio on Modern Day Radio. Lisa, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi,
Hello.
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Oh, good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
You're on the air.
Oh, hi. I'm listening to the show, and I really like John, by the way.
Yeah.
And, I'm a convert to the faith, about 6 years. And 1 year we watched The Passion, and I had a priest tell me, he said, eating red meat is just too close to all the blood that our Lord lost on that Good Friday. And it just really struck me that so that's why I started giving up meat on every Friday during the whole year. Mm-hmm. I just think it gives us an opportunity to contemplate our Lord every Friday. So always keep that in mind, because he gave up so much for us. And I find that very important, and especially during Lent, of course, we're just talking, we have 21 meals in a week, we're only going to give up 3. 3, so we have 18 other meals in a whole week. You can have anything you want, but just that one day, I don't think it's asking too much for us just to give up that little bit for everything that he's done for us.
Mm. Yeah, Lisa, that's a great point. And not to interject comedy into this, but Taco Bell has that commercial about the 4th meal. Don't forget. So, so there could be 28 meals in a day for those hearty young people who like that 10 p.m. extra meal. But anyway, the point is so well taken, and this whole identification with Jesus, I think you're making a great point, Lisa. I mean, we sometimes think that, we do these things because, the church says so. The church, tells us so. A lot of non-Catholics and even anti-Catholics will look at the disciplines and the practices of Catholics and say, well, you just you blindly follow this Pope, and you blindly just do what this body, of church leaders tells you to do. But the purpose, the underlying, reasons, the benefits, and then the connection with the suffering and sacrifice of Christ isn't really perceived by these people, I don't believe. And so, Lisa, you obviously understand this, and I think it's important. This is a great take for all of the people who are listening, Debbie, because we need to really realize that the core reason that we do all of this is because we are the body of Christ, and we need to identify as closely as we can with him.
Well said, Jerry. Well said. And Lisa, I just wanted to add one thing and just say welcome home. We're so glad that you're back home in your family, and that the wonderful thing about people that have converted into Catholicism is that you're so eager to, and if I may say in a general sense, converts are so eager to learn more, to learn why, and to fully participate. And so I believe in my heart of hearts that converts are very much needed throughout cradle Catholicism. So those of us cradle Catholics need to be surrounded by converts, because those of us who grew up, we just were born into the faith. So much of it is lost, and in the sense that we kind of do go somewhat through the motions. And I'm not saying this for everybody, but converts allow us to take a moment to step back and go, wow, I need to see this through the eyes just like Lisa seeing it. And then all of a sudden it just generates this igniting of the faith inside of us. And then we can take that fire along and spread it to others. And that's one of the reasons, I just want to, not to plug this, but that's one of the reasons why Jerry, it was so much put upon his heart to start the One Faith experience. And that's coming up in April in St. Louis. And if anybody's interested, it's onefaithexperience.com. But that's one of the reasons, Jerry, in the conversation that you shared with all of us, is that you do want everyone to have that, energized faith, that fire in their belly that they go out there. So Lisa, thank you for inspiring us today and giving us a different view of things so that we can, look at things and understand the sacrifice, just like we shared with John when he called, the sacrifice that Jesus made for us, just for us. If there was only one of us, he would have still made that same sacrifice. That's how much he loves us. So thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Anything else you wanted to share?
Just really quickly, when Jerry was talking about fish fries,
Mm-hmm.
and I think about fish fries, and which is great, it's fish, but I think about how much people are eating, and all these, and if there is sauces involved, and it doesn't seem very penitential, especially during Lent.
Right.
That if you're overeating too much and really kind of, getting into these other foods, it doesn't seem to be penitential, because I was under the understanding that our meals should be more simple on Fridays during Lent.
That's definitely true. And I made the point about my parish, and I said, it's really it's good seafood that they serve, but I'm sure they serve, if I can put it this way, temperate sized meals, because they serve 700 people. But you're right, Lisa. Another very, very good point to wrap up our time together with on the air. So thank you so much. We're going to move on, Lisa. Bless you. I hope you have a fantastic day. I echo Debbie's welcome to you into the Catholic Church. It's been a few years now, but I'm sure you still feel like a new kid in a candy store, with all the great Catholic stuff that we have. So thanks, Lisa, so much for joining us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We have that line open, 1-800-585-9396, talking about fasting, abstaining from meat, following the church's guidelines. Do we do it blindly just because the church says so? What do you get out of it? Have you found that maybe this has kind of been the key that unlocked some really deep spiritual growth for you? 800-585-9396. Mark and Tiffany, hang on. We want to get to your calls, but Christina got in just right ahead of you in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, listening to EWTN Radio on Lamb Radio. Hi, Christina. Welcome.
Hi. Hello. Yeah, I'm so glad I got on. I'm kind of surprised. The reason I'm calling in is because I just wanted I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this way, but I am incredibly afraid of Satan and how he's putting his fangs out here in our culture nowadays, and he's doing it in such a sly way that I think that a lot of people don't realize it, but there's a lot of things that are coming up on the news, like there was you guys played a commercial on it here that a former Satanist wanted to head the moment of silence in some place. There's also news about how there was a former Satanist coming out and saying how he used to partake in abortions to offer up the babies as sacrifices to Satan, and he makes things come true for people. And people, the general public doesn't know this, and I think that it would behoove us, especially right now during Lent, that we don't just abstain from eating meat on Fridays, but make an extra special effort to do it throughout the entire Lent, because we need to, we have to. Satan is out there, and he's slowly gaining ground, and we have to fight him back. And I'm terrified whenever I hear of things like this, horrible things that he's doing. I mean, it's not people that are, granted, people are doing these things to people, right? But Satan is manipulating everybody into destroying, the culture of life, because he hates us. He hates human beings because we're made in the image and likeness of God. He can't hurt God, so he'll hurt the next best thing, which is us. And people just don't realize that we need to put it out there and really just offer up all of our sacrifices to the Lord. I would say all year, right? But we're in Lent, so in the spirit of Lent, we should do it, and that's what I wanted to put out there.
Yeah, and Christina, you are really right on, I think, obviously during Lent. But I'm going to read something here from the EWTN website in just a minute. But this gets at what we're talking about now. We talked about identifying with the sacrifice of Christ. Well, what was that sacrifice for? It was to defeat Satan. Okay, so we need to, Debbie, be aware, not afraid. We don't need to be nervous or scared necessarily that Satan is going to harm us if we allow him to, if we open ourselves up to him, and do not do any sort of sacrifices at all, but allow our flesh to just kind of take control of us and move us along a path of fleshly desires. St. Paul says, make no provision for the flesh. So Christina's point is right, that this is a battle with the devil. We see that in the Lenten Mass readings. But on EWTN's website, this is written by Colin Donovan, their vice president of theology. It's on a whole article on fast and abstinence, but at the end it says this. I'm just going to read a couple sentences. Aside from these minimum penitential requirements, Catholics are encouraged to impose some personal penance on themselves at other times. It could be modeled after abstinence and fasting. A person, he says, a person could, for example, multiply the number of days they abstain. They could give up meat entirely for religious motives. And so he makes the point that, in one sense, every day of our lives should have a penitential element to it.
Exactly. And I think, Christina, you really did nail it when you were talking about the power of prayer and abstinence and fasting. And so many popes and, so many of our church leaders have said, we should take it upon ourselves to ramp up our prayer and fasting so that we can combat evil. And so I agree with Jerry. There's no need for a sense of fear, in the sense that, because we know God wins, we know God conquers. We know that. So, but we do have right in front of us, this ability to ramp up our prayer, ramp up our fasting, abstinence, whatever that is an effort to really dispel, to really remove, to really have power over the darkness. And I think, and it all comes through God, but we're in cooperation with that. And so, Christina, I think that's a great reminder that you shared today. Thank you so very much, calling in from South Dakota. We appreciate your take today on Take Two. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to go next to Mark in New York, listening to EWTN Radio on the Station of the Cross. Mark, thanks for your patience there. And Tiffany, you too. We're going to get to you next. But Mark, thank you. What's your take on this today?
Well, listen, sorry, got a little bit of an echo there. I have my radio down. Okay, there we go. That's better. My take on it, I've got a bit of a conundrum today. A bunch of us at work decided to order out for lunch. Mm-hmm. I said, okay, it's Friday. I got to pick something on the menu that doesn't have any meat on it. So I went with a tossed salad with some Italian dressing on it. One of the coworkers went out to pick up our order. When it got back, my tossed salad had 2 wonderfully grilled chicken breasts.
Oh, no.
Looked absolutely succulent on it. So, it's kind of like you got the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. So I'm going through a little bit of a spiritual battle. When I go in to eat my lunch in the lunchroom, I'm going to have to throw those chicken breasts in the garbage, unfortunately. But it seems to me that when we make an effort or make a commitment to abstain from something, that kind of like along the lines of your last caller, the devil's going to throw something in our way. Mm-hmm. And I think that when that happens, when Our Lady and our Lord Jesus see us in that battle and trying to be victorious over that we're doing that for the glory of God. The graces come from that, and merits come from that, and who knows what good will come from it.
Mark, you're right on, absolutely right on. And here's the other thing too, though, but which I find that is so beautiful. What you shared is that these little battles that we all encounter, all of welcome to the club, Mark. We all encounter. We encounter. I remember one time when you're talking about this salad, I was thinking to myself that what happened? Did Mark get bacon bits on top of a salad? I had that one time. You know how hard it is to pull out bacon bits. At least you can just go ahead and lift the chicken breasts off and give them away. But here's something that's interesting. I think this is my personal opinion. I think we're also confronted with these little battles that we can have victory over with grace and with mercy from God, and with the blessing of His mother. But what's also, I think, is so cool, and Mark, I wonder if this is going to happen to you. Not only do you have this little kind of, thing that happens, this little hiccup, I say, and then you get through it. You could just lift the chicken breast off and, give it to somebody else, or pack it up, and put it in the refrigerator or something like that. But you also have a great teaching moment for somebody else. You have an awesome teaching moment. And it doesn't have to be something like you're saying to somebody else, hey, I'm, holier because I'm a Catholic not eating, meat on Friday. Not at all. But you have an awesome teaching moment. And I think it would be great, to say, wow, that chicken breast looks good. Boy, is this going to be hard to do, but I have to do it. I have to do it because it brings me, closer to what Jesus did for me. Simple words, simple statements of our own struggles, our own journey can help every soul around us. Jerry and I see it all the time in Catholic radio. We see it all the time. One statement can change a person's life, or change a person's soul journey, I should say. So I don't know, Mark. It's just interesting. I have a funny feeling you're going to have a couple teaching moments that are going to go along with that chicken, those chicken pieces on top of your salad. What do you think, Mark?
I'm going to dispose of the chicken by either giving it away or maybe even throwing it in the garbage if I have to. But I'm also going to offer up a rosary for the young man who called earlier, John, the 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
I'm going to offer up a rosary tonight that he considers a vocation to the priesthood.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Mark, that is what that's an added sacrifice, and that is going to bear much fruit. This is what sacrifice is. We give of ourselves, and God supercharges our sacrifices with His grace and His love. So thanks, Mark. That's a very, very noble thing for you to do. We appreciate that. We are going to get over to Tiffany as promised next. Tiffany is listening to EWTN Radio on iHeartRadio in Los Angeles. Hello, Tiffany. Thank you for calling.
Hi. I have a question, but I wanted to make a comment about John as well.
Sure.
I almost cried when I was listening to him because the way he said you can just turn to someone and say, there was a man who lived a long time ago and he sacrificed himself for our sins. It was so childlike. It was so like matter of fact. I don't care that you're going to think I look silly. You know what I mean? Or you're going to think I sound silly. And it was just really touching to be reminded that it's not as complicated as we make it. And that kids tend to have a grasp on that.
Yeah, right. For sure.
We agree.
Sure.
We agree, Tiffany.
So I guess my question is, I tend to have a hard time with food in general. I used to really overeat, and then I really underate when I went through a period of anxiety problems. And now I'm a mom, and I tend to pick all day because if I make my own meal, I tend to overeat anyway because the kids are eating all day. They're 4 and 1, so I'm basically feeding them like once an hour. And so it pertains to Good Friday, but my question also pertains because I'm looking at the Order of Penitence, and you are supposed to fast 3 or 4 days out of the week. And I'm just wondering, I'm feeling kind of defeated on that front because I don't know how to remedy my issues with the way that I eat. I get anxiety when I don't eat the right foods or a certain amount of food. If I fast, I tend to get lightheaded and things like that. So I don't know what to do.
Well, definitely, Tiffany, the church has a response to that, and I'm just going to paraphrase it because I don't have anything pulled up right here in front of me at this time. But for medical reasons, or if there is any sort of issue such as what you're describing, I would have to believe it would qualify. The first thing Mother Church wants is for her children to be safe and, not to experience any kind of health issues, anxiety certainly would be one of those, or anything else. I mean, Debbie, there are people who have, severe dietary issues that they simply have to eat maybe multiple times a day.
Right.
So even during Lent, they might eat
or
the equivalent of 4 or 5 meals a day. So I guess I would just say, Tiffany, that, we have to be, we want to live, and act with the church. We fast with the church, we feast with the church. But at the same time, if there are any sort of circumstances in an individual's life, there is, in my opinion anyway, the church gives room for that. You may want to consult a priest about it just to be sure, but the church doesn't impose these things or require these things to the point that it's going to jeopardize our health in any way.
Exactly. Jerry, you said it perfectly. And I would check with your priest, Tiffany. I know, Tiffany, you're a regular listener and caller to Take Two. We want to thank you, by the way. We appreciate, we love that you check in with us and you're a regular listener. So we're excited about that. But check with your priest. But I agree with Jerry. The church is very, very cognizant of the fact that all of us have, different life circumstances. So, my guess is that if you talk to a priest, he's going to say, well, just replace something else that you can do instead that is more manageable for your situation. So that would be my guess on it. But, let us know. Check with your priest and call us back and let us know what they say. But we wish you, we bless you. You're a mom. You're a great, sounds like a great mom. I've eaten many half-eaten chicken nuggets off my kids' plates. It's unbelievable. So I can relate, Tiffany. And thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, Tiffany, we really appreciate the call to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. As Debbie said, we know you listen and you call in, so please do so anytime. We're going to get over to Norman in Nashville, Tennessee. He's got EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. Hello, Norman. You're on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, hello there. I remember when Meatless Fridays, I'm 80 years old, I remember when we had Meatless Fridays all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And now during Lent, no meat on Friday. It's a very small sacrifice compared to what Christ has done for us. And as a matter of fact, we eat too much meat in America anyway. But I welcome it with open arms, and I feel privileged to sacrifice having meat on Friday.
Wow.
Beautiful.
You've been a Catholic all your life, Norman?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So you've seen it. What's that?
Yeah, I was baptized in 1935.
Wow. Praise God. So you've seen a lot of changes in the church and disciplines and things like that, but you've got a really good perspective on that. So you still, to this day, don't eat meat on Friday, I take it?
Well, no, I don't. No, I don't eat meat on Friday. But when back in the '60s, when the Vatican Council, when they abolished it, I did for a while did eat meat on Friday. But now I abstain from any warm-blooded because think of it, we can sometimes if it's a penance, because some people can afford to eat lobster, and a lobster,
Right.
I think lobster.
It's a luxury. That's right.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So I think that just giving up meat on Friday just for Lent, it's the smallest. It's the smallest thing we can do for Christ.
Amen.
Compared to what He did for us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Amen to that, Norman. Norman, you are a young-sounding 80. God bless you. You are one of our heroes in the church, Norman. Thank you. Thanks for calling in to Take Two.
Thanks, Norman. We appreciate it. Katie, I apologize in Kentucky. I wish we had time to get you on the air, but we're just a minute away from closing. I just wanted to share Marion emailed take2@ewtn.com. She says, I'm enjoying the program so much, just sharing my take on the subject. As a vegan, I always get a kick out of Fridays during Lent. Marion writes, I joke that I should actually eat meat as my sacrifice.
Marion, I'm right with you. Go ahead.
She says, but truly I feel that I need to offer another sacrifice, so I choose to fast on Fridays during Lent and some other holy days. I eat no food at all until dinner and offer my sacrifice with the sufferings of Christ and remind myself that man does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. God bless you both and your listeners. So, folks, Marion in Ohio is praying for you.
Wow. That is a great post on that. And Katie, we're sorry we couldn't get to you. Please keep the conversation going on Take Two. You can email us, take2@ewtn.com, at Twitter, at Take Two Show, at EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook. Make sure you like us. We're just a little bit over 100 likes, and we'll have that 5,000 like celebration. Our next show, Jerry, is teaching your kids to pray.
I know.
Wow, we got to get to this one.
That's right. Moms and dads, grandparents even. We're going to talk about how you form your kids in the prayer life, teaching your kids to pray. That's coming up on the next Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. By the way, we're going to have a best of program noon Saturdays starting soon. Until next time.
Have a beautiful and blessed day. See you soon.